Why do I play Yu-Gi-Oh after 30 plus years of my mid 30s? Let's talk about it. So, why did I get into Yu-Gi-Oh, man? I got into Yu-Gi-Oh essentially because, like most of y'all, the anime was dope as hell when I was a kid, and I like the idea of deck building and things like that. And for what it's worth, I bought all the games. I was one of those kids that every time one of the new games came out, I was buying it. But as the years progressed, I got into other hobbies. I was into Beyblade heavily before Yu-Gi-Oh. Beyblade is my first love. Yu-Gi-Oh is my second love, but Yu-Gi-Oh and Beyblade are both still here in my mid 30s. And I want to talk about this video because, as a guy in his mid 30s, and probably some girls out there too maybe deal with this, but I think guys mainly deal with this a lot. A lot of people are curious and they get shocked when we tell them, hey, we still play Yu-Gi-Oh. They're like, Yu-Gi-Oh? That kid game? Oh, I know Exodia. I know Blue Eyes. Is Exodia still good? Like, they have questions. Some judgmental, some not judgmental. Most people don't care nowadays, but in my early 20s, man, oh man, people used to look at you with the side eye like, this nigga's a weirdo, or this dude's immature. This dude's not grown up. One thing I at least, I'm gonna speak for myself. I can't speak for a lot of you guys out there, but a lot of you guys might share the same experience. If I could say one thing, Yu-Gi-Oh's been the one thing in my life that's kept me mentally sane, man. I was like a lot of y'all. I went to school, try to get a degree post high school. I graduated high school in 2008. At the end of the recession, well, at the start of the recession, it was horrible. That's when the economy crashed. There wasn't a lot of good jobs, and I remember working at my first job ever was Little Caesars, making like what $7.75 an hour. I was excited. My first paycheck was like $90. The world was shit. Didn't have a girl at the time. I met my son's mom so shortly after that, and that was a roller coaster in its own essence. But one thing I've always kept me sane throughout them hard times, because I grew up pretty, I want to say low middle class, like I want to say like low middle class, high low class, meaning like I grew up in the hood, but thanks to my granddaddy, I'm always gonna give him props for like helping raise me and my brother and keeping things afloat in my household. My parents did much too, but they didn't have much money because of personal reasons I'm not getting into, but times was hard, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to my grandparents for keeping things structured. And I always support my Yu-Gi-Oh hobbies, by the way, too. Especially my grandma. She loves asking me how my tournaments went, things like that, especially when I used to travel when I was younger. And things was rough, I didn't have cable. I didn't have internet when I did have an Xbox. But one thing I did have was my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And that followed me throughout high school from going to locals. My first locals was Windy City Comics when I was a kid. Ironically enough, I was a scumbag of a kid. Growing up in the ghetto, I was stealing. I got banned from the car shop. Right, rightly so, because I was a scumbag. Looking back on it now, it was kind of like, oh my God, I regret a lot of that shit. Because, I didn't really get to see that shop in its final days. And I burned some bridges when I was very, very young. Some of the people who bridges I burned with at that time forgot, because obviously time heals all wounds and people forget things over the time. But I remember, and I kind of feel bad for the shit. And that kind of followed me when I went to my second car shop. But nevertheless, man, I had it rough growing up. I wasn't rich, I wasn't poor, but I got everything I wanted for the most part. And, times was hard in the early 2000s. A lot of us didn't have a lot of money, especially growing up in the west side of Chicago where I grew up at. And like I said, Yu-Gi-Oh was always there for me. Through breakups, rough relationships, Yu-Gi-Oh was there. And even now into my mid 30s, Yu-Gi-Oh's here. I much rather play Yu-Gi-Oh than go to the bar. And a lot of people don't understand that, because a lot of people like my older brother. He's cool, but he used to give me shit back when we were both younger. He's only a couple years older than me. He's only 5 years older than me. But when we were both younger, and not just him, but people in general, like of that era, the older millennials, right? Because I'm an old millennial, but I'm not an old millennial. Like his generation, like a first generation millennial. They didn't really get the whole card game hobby, and especially my dad either. My dad was like, "You still playing them damn cards?" It was one of those things where it was just like, "Oh, I thought you'll grow out of this by the time you got to high school and started dating," but no. Like, I got to a point where my own dad thought I was gay, because like literally all I was talking about is Yu-Gi-Oh, play my video games, which is Pokemon at the time, and never talked about girls, even though I was dating. I just kept my business on the low. So I'm just thinking about like, man, I wonder do a lot of other guys dealt with that type of, just judgmental upbringing from a lot of different outside sources. Like I said, not blaming my family because my family is dope. Things happen, and it's just a culture shock to a lot of people who didn't really go through it. Because like a lot of you guys might be my age, but you might have grew up in the burbs where families, outside sources like friends, girls you might have dated, might not have cared as much. But if you're a millennial like me, growing up in the ghetto, especially in the early 2000s, late 90s, bro, if you were a nerd, bro, you're a nobody for the most part. You got to keep that shit on the low. Like I had buddies who played card games that literally just they would anytime they had a chick over, they're hiding all their shit. They would never talk about it. It was literally like being part of a secret club. Like it was funny because like when I as I transitioned out of Yu-Gi-Oh into Naruto, and we used to play test religiously for events at our local 24-hour subway. People used to come in late night. Sometimes they'll look and laugh, but sometimes you can see the dudes who will be like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. I used to play this shit when I was younger, man. This is dope. Y'all have a good night. And you can kind of tell by them looking at us playing the cards, it brought them back to their childhood when things was a lot simpler. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I play Yu-Gi-Oh because it reminds me of how simple the world was back when I was a kid. Because despite all the judgmental things I've been through, from people looking at me weirdly, for judging me for not really being heavily into sports, like I'm an alternative black dude. I'm half black, half Hispanic, so I'm not fully black. For you guys that may be wondering, I'm half black, half Puerto Rican. But being an oh, excuse me, being an alternative kid, growing up in the early 2000s, if you weren't playing sports, dude, like football, basketball, hockey, especially if you're Hispanic, a little bit of soccer. I'm not Mexican, but I'm Puerto Rican. But if you weren't doing the normal things, you weren't considered popular. You weren't considered cool. Now I had my friends. Luckily, I had a good upbringing when I was a kid. Like I had my grammar school friends, and they used to rag on me, but I didn't really care. It was like whatever. It is what it is. Cause but to the outside world who didn't know you like that, you were nobody. Like when I got to high school, bro, it was a big culture shock, bro. Like I was literally a fucking loser in high school, and I didn't care. Cause man, I still got my attention. I was a pretty boy, I guess. I had long hair, things like that. I was skinny, but girls thought I was cute. Shout out to my dad for the good genetics and my mom, I guess. But you know, it just once people found out my hobbies, it was kind of like, ugh, get away from this dude. Or once certain people I was hanging out with wanted to be more cool and stop doing the things I wanted to do, like play card games and just live a regular life, they kind of like shunned me and stayed away from me. And it kind of sucked, but I never really cared because, once again, I've always been the type of person like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. That's just how I personally feel. And like I say, Yu-Gi-Oh's always been there. From the time I was a kid, from the time I was a teenager, and the game is still going 20 years, 25 plus years later. And I'm like, man, it really hit me the other day. I've been playing this card game for 23 plus years. And I know I'm kind of going all over the place with this stories. I'm just freeballing this video. But unlike our parents' generation and my brother's generation, the older millennials, Gen Xers, things like that, I never really cared about like bar hopping. I never really cared about clubbing. Like a good night for me in my early 20s was kicking it with the boys, playing some card games. And I had a girl at the time, my son's mom, so I really didn't care. Now, part of me did want to go out, part of me did want to experience the party life, and I did go out and party here and there. But I always found myself doing it when I did it consistently. I always missed playing cards, so it was more fun. And as a guy, as I was starting to get older, I've been through many different card game crews in my life. It started getting a little lonely, but you meet new people, have new experiences. I started the YouTube channel, which effectively kept me in the game, honestly, because if it wasn't for this YouTube channel, I probably would have quit a long time ago. And I came to realize after doing what I was thinking the other day, I play this game not only because it keeps me sane, but it reminds me of a time, like I said, when my childhood was simpler, when life was simpler, when things were good. Because the way the world is nowadays, y'all, is so freaking negative. You try to go out, have a drink, the bars are dead. Because I did enjoy going out when I went out, and I did enjoy partying when I partied. But as you get older and you grow out of that stuff, I grew out of it fast. It was never really my scene anyway. You just realize, like, how dumb it is to go to a bar, pay about 20 to 100 bucks on drinks. Especially back in the day, you can get a good drink for like 5 to 10 bucks. But nowadays, it's 15, 20 bucks for drinks. Try to sleep with some slut for the night if you get lucky. Go home, wake up with a hangover, go to work, repeat the process. And especially when you have a crappy job or a shitty job, it was never really worth it. And then going to the club was like I said, I have found to going to the club here and there, but a lot of the time it was just kind of like boring. And then you have things like dating apps. You start dating. Like I've dated. I'm currently not dating anybody right now because the last situation I got into just didn't work out. Girl, I guess the girl just wanted to end things. We were dating for like a solid 4 months, and it sucked. She didn't really judge me for Yu-Gi-Oh because she's the same age as me, and she was a nerd herself. She loved The Sims and things like that. Cool chick, I thought, but a little bit of rude with the way she ended things. I don't want to get into too much detail. She did see my YouTube channel. She might watch this video. If she does, I don't give a fuck. But like, I was just one of them. I was just looking, thinking like, man, Yu-Gi-Oh's been super consistent for me, and I owe a lot to the game. Met a lot of friends. It gives me something to do on the weekends. Like today's Friday. Today you guys are gonna be getting this video. I'm going to locals as soon as I get done with this video, and I was like, man, I am so glad I played this card game because a lot of guys they let the pressure of life get to them, dude. Like I know a couple guys over the years who they get into serious relationships and they let their girls control their life. They let their family pressure get to them. If you guys haven't seen my video on family pressure and Yu-Gi-Oh, check it out. Why men quit Yu-Gi-Oh. That's a real thing. They let their family pressure get to them. Now I know a lot of you guys are lucky. You guys have wives, girls who support you and all that shit. But a lot of dudes don't get that shit, bro. Like a lot of dudes, the average dude, this is what their wife tells them. You could do it, but only on my terms. And I think that's not fair. And I see that a lot. People get into petty ass arguments. They get made fun of. Their girl throw their hobby in their face, call them a child, tell them they need to grow up. All sorts of crazy shit. And that's not good, man. It's part of the reason, one of the reasons why I'm like, you know what? I ain't in a rush to hop in a relationship. I'm 35. I got a kid already. My kid, I'm just literally trying to live, support my kid the best way I possibly can. And the best way I can do that is just by keeping my head, in a good, positive way. And Yu-Gi-Oh keeps me positive. Like, I got buddies who I know say Yu-Gi-Oh keeps them off the streets. And this is multiple buddies throughout the years, not just one person. Because I got a couple buddies now who I know Yu-Gi-Oh keeps them off the streets. But I had buddies from years ago. Same thing. They live that street life. They quit quit street life for Yu-Gi-Oh. Completely changed their life around. And now they're doing something more positive with their time because, you know, life is, especially growing up where we grew up at in Chicago, life is crazy, man. People shoot. It's a lot of game banging pressure. Like, it's super easy to go down the wrong path without having a good hobby to keep your head on the good shoulders. Some people take the sport route and that's cool, but some nerds like us, we take the card game route. Some people might even take, a hobby route like the YouTube thing. I always think like, man, if I never started my YouTube channel, what would my life be? Because I probably would have quit Yu-Gi-Oh! And I probably would have got into something else. Or I probably would just still be playing, just trying to be more competitive. But I think the competitive aspect too, just to kind of wrap this video up, is also one of the reasons why I like playing this card game. Is because when you're really competitive in Yu-Gi-Oh, it does something to me. It like, I don't know if it's kind of hard to explain. I get that adrenaline rush, and I get excited, and then it makes me feel young again. If that makes sense. Not that I'm old, because I'm not old. I'm 35, but I'm getting up there in age. I'm 5 years away from 40. But it's the small shit I appreciate. Like, there was a big beef in the community recently about, well, not really beef, but a good conversation on Twitter where Jesse Cotton, who's a current pro player of the time of this video being recorded, who's a well-accomplished player, he's selling some of his prize cards. And there's a big debate where people are like, why are you selling your prize cards? Why not keep it for memories? And I get it from both ends because when I was playing Naruto, I was a Naruto pro. I mean, I topped once a year, at the very least, one big event a year. I top 8 at regionals a lot. Got my regional invite every year. And on top of that, well, they didn't have regional invites, but I did good at every region I went to. But one thing I regret from my playing Naruto from back in 2009 to 2011, from '06 to 2011, is getting rid of all my stuff, like my playmats, exclusive playmats, I lost my Kage pen being dumb. I had it attached to my playmat. It did attach to my crappy book bag that I should have replaced, and that just it fell. And a lot of stuff I had, I sold. And so it's like, man, that's memories I'll probably never have back. Luckily for me, though, I had some buddies on Facebook who had some stuff I can buy from them just to have as memories. And I got the stuff. Obviously, I made a little documentary video I shared on my community tab today about it. So when you do things like Yu-Gi-Oh, card games, hobby, whatever, martial arts even, I'm into that as well, but that's just expensive. It's just one of them things where it's like, man, when it's all said and done, and when we finally do quit playing this game, you're gonna want to remember that shit. And so I get it on why people sell their stuff, but I also understand it from a collector's aspect of like, you want to have a memory. You want to have something to remind you of a time where things was simpler and you were giving it your all. So I guess to end the video, I play Yu-Gi-Oh in my mid-30s because, like I said, I love it. It's for the love of the game. One of the best things I've ever done in my life. If I never played Yu-Gi-Oh, probably would have either. I mean, I kind of liked the football a little bit in high school, but I definitely would have got more heavier into MMA or some other sport and had a normal life. But one thing I can say about normal life, I think that's just boring, bro. Could you imagine like instead of going to locals on a Friday night, I'm going to the bar. Like, I got a cousin, love the guy. We don't hang out as much anymore. But all this dude does every week, every other day, goes to the bar, get drunk, post on his stories, hanging out. It looks fun, hanging out with random sluts, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. When it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, go to the card shop, play in a high competitive tournament. It's keeping my brain sharp, keeping my mental sharp. I prep for events. I travel more. And that's not to say people who do normal stuff don't travel. It just, my idea of traveling and having a good time is going to a tournament, having fun, exploring the city, meeting new people, meeting subscribers because I'm a YouTuber now, and just kicking it. So, I guess I'm just rambling at this point, man, and I don't even know what I wanted to do with this video. But I just want to say, if you guys made it to the part of this video, thanks for watching. It really means a lot, especially if you guys maybe new to the channel. I want to invite for you guys to subscribe. I'm uploading as much as I can throughout the week. And yeah, man, don't quit playing Yu-Gi-Oh because somebody else tell you to. Quit playing Yu-Gi-Oh because you want to. Because we're all going to eventually quit at the end of the day. We can't do this shit forever. Like, I'm probably going to play until the game officially ends or shut down. But just like Magic the Gathering, I predict me probably playing Yu-Gi-Oh into my 40s and probably even 50s. Maybe not as active as I am now, because I'm definitely not as active as I was when I was younger. Just because life, like, there's a regionals going on tomorrow, but spending time with my son, make sure he's good. And, I'm doing the dad thing this weekend, and then after that, I'm doing the me thing again. So, it's your boy Rogue Hero explaining to you guys why I still play Yu-Gi-Oh in my mid-30s. Share this video with people in your life who may not understand our little geeky culture of playing a children's card game, even though it's not a children's card game, because most people who play it are 30 plus. And that's one thing I want to get off my chest too. Like, I hate when people call it a children's card game, especially Yu-Gi-Oh players. Like, dude, it's not a children's card game. Most people who play this shit is 30 plus. A lot of people have careers. A lot of people turn it into a career. This is not a career for me. I don't make much on YouTube at all. I make a couple $100 a month tops on YouTube. This is, if anything, this is a side hustle for me, and it's a part-time job for me. But for a lot of you guys, this is just fun, good hobby. But for some of y'all, like the rare few of y'all, it's a career, and that's honestly awesome as hell. So, it's your boy Rogue Hero, and I'm signing out. Peace. See you guys in the next video.